Hey, Dr. Stickle. So this is my video going into the kind of assignments or assessments that I would do with my second student, Mira-Jane. And so once again, I've just got a little few notes here to make sure I cover all the points. But and I'm filming in my closet. I changed locations, but my family's downstairs watching TV, and I figured you didn't want that in the background. But I'll get straight into it. So Mira-Jane is definitely a student that I would describe as that knows English but doesn't know English, because she has been taught, classroom English. She's never really spoke it. She's just been taught really the vocabulary and the proper ways of English in a classroom, and not done anything much outside of a classroom environment. And of course, all of us know that English inside of a classroom and outside of a classroom is almost two totally different languages. And so definitely I understand where she gets a lot of her struggles from, because I would make sure to let her know I relate the same way in Spanish. As when I'm in a classroom, I often do okay with Spanish, but when I'm in an everyday conversation, I really struggle. And so that's something I would first do, is just really connect with her and say, hey, I get your struggles here. We're going to work through it. And so the first thing we want to do is, I had to really think a lot about what everyday conversation looks like. And since she's wanting to talk to her best friend, I was thinking, a lot of times when I'm with my friends, or when people are with their friends, we're often trying to make them laugh, or, just make people smile and have fun. So I really thought about trying to look at like sarcasm and jokes and different things like that to really influence me in Mira-Jane's instruction. And so definitely with her, I'm going to take a communicative-based approach, because she's wanting to learn communication, how to just communicate effectively in all environments, classroom, casual, formal, just all these different environments. So definitely communicative-based approach. So the first activity we would do is going through how the stress on different words can totally morph their meaning, and why English is such a stress-based language. So I would give her we'd start with individual words. So I have some examples written out here. I've got 4 words, and I would have her just read the words normally. I would just show her the words, and she would read the words. So I've got the, what, girl, and totally. I would ask her to tell me what those words means. So it just is the start of a sentence, the. And then what just means, what is something. Girl is just the female, and totally just means yes. So then I would present to her how an English speaker, when we change how we say those words, when we put extra stress on them, it changes the definition of those words. So if instead of me saying the, I say the, and I would give her a sentence, for example, I'm going to the store. So that changes the from just meaning, just it, to meaning like this is the best store. And so I would also do the same thing for the other words. So what, instead of saying just what, like in a question format, I could say what, and that kind of means like, are you serious, or what, it's kind of shocking. The third one, girl, instead of just saying girl to mean female, you hear people say girl, and then that I would tell her, that means, like, are you serious at all? It's kind of in the same lines of what. And then totally, instead of somebody just saying totally, meaning yes, they could say totally, obviously meaning no, or sarcastically meaning no. And so I would really have fun with her during that assignment, and we'd look at the different words and just get some good laughs out of that. And the second part of that assignment would be, I would give her sentences and ask her to change them into different meanings by changing the stress. So like I wrote an example sentence here of it's totally fine. If you hear that said, just no stress at all, it's totally fine, you would think everything is all right. But I would ask her to add stress to it, and she could do that by saying it's totally fine, which that means in sarcastic way, no, it's not fine. I'm not fine. Whatever it is not okay. And so that's kind of how we would approach the first activity, really getting her comfortable with the stress and how it can change a word and adapt what a sentence means. The second activity I would have with Mira-Jane is, and I really got inspiration from Kathy Zimbaldi. She is an ESL teacher who very much argues to incorporate comedy into her classroom and for her English students. And I really liked the first part of her lesson plan, and I really have pretty much adapted that to just fit the specific student. But she talks about having students start off by writing jokes in their native language. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is such a good idea, because so much of the jokes in English, especially stuff like dad jokes or puns, is based on English stress, you know, stressing a word or playing with the words. And so this is really good for the morphology. Then this would be good for Mira-Jane to practice with. So I would start off by having Mira-Jane write a couple jokes, 2 or 3 jokes in her native language, and then I would ask her to translate those to English. And then the next step would be I would have her say those jokes just plain in standard American English, no stress at all. And then I would ask her to say them in the stressed version and ask her, why does this make this joke work? Have her, you know, explain. And also I would want her to, once she got comfortable with telling jokes in stress, I would want her to tell some jokes in front of a small group of her classmates or her peers, you know, to kind of combat any anxiety she has about conversational English. And so overall, since Mira-Jane's really wanting to work on her conversational skills in English, I'm going to try and use some humor and some jokes, stuff that she might be expected to do with her friends. She's a teenage girl, and so that's how I would approach this student, using that conversational based approach and that kind of that sort of immersion theory a little bit in the second activity, with writing the jokes in native language and telling them in stressed English to English speakers. And so that's how I would approach Mira-Jane.